the best moment to do this investment is not when everything goes right and there is a lot of FOMO. So if you build a business during the FOMO, that's going to be painful. In payments, look at the amazing path of stablecoins. Now stablecoins are processing $33 trillion, in 2025 of transaction, which is more than the sum of MasterCard and Visa put together, right?
That's crazy. How do you think your leadership style has changed over the last decade? And also, is there a difference between being a leader in digital asset space compared to maybe in the TradFi space?
Yes, difference is about speed.
In my opinion, I feel like where there's more money is where companies that operate in capital market structure, they see digital asset as another asset class, and they absorb it into their company, perhaps. How do you see somewhere like Young Platform, plays within that?
Yes, no, definitely. I think Young Platform is moving from the typical crypto exchange to more the service company to service the crypto industry and the digital asset industry.
What do you think is a misunderstanding about how real market works compared to what you look at, crypto today?
The way I look at this is the other way around. So what traditional markets could learn from digital asset markets, and not the other way around. I think what's going to happen is exactly the opposite. And that mistake has been done by many companies in the crypto asset. And you've seen these companies that hired like 500 people 1 year and fired 300 people the next year. Right?
The market moves like every three months. I think there's something different, right? So,
it's amazing. I mean, the amount of change, even in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
In 12 months goes through, you are in a different setup, right?
Yeah.
You're in a different setup. So you need a lot of adaptive skills.
Hey Nicholas, great to have you finally doing this podcast officially. So thanks for being here.
Hi Sam.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be here.
Fantastic. So I always tell my guests what's the reason why I invite them, right? And in your case, when we first met, I was super curious about your 25 years career in capital markets, and then how you moved into digital assets. And your journey around, turning around business like Turquoise very early in your career, as well as some of your board roles that you have been playing with Young Platform, One Trade, etc. So yeah, I was really curious what is being like a 25-year journey, and then moving into crypto, and then also your leadership. What did you learn throughout your leadership career? That kind of a thing. So that's why I want to invite you. I hope that's a good way to start.
Fantastic.
So let's get right into it, right? So you had leadership roles at Euronext, and then also London Stock Exchange, and then you moved into a digital asset. Was there any particular thing that you saw in digital asset for you to move into digital asset, especially in a custody provider, right?
Yes.
I'm just keen to understand. Let's start with that.
Absolutely. I mean, I still remember what a professor at university was telling us, many years ago, is that your career is not going to be a straight line, and that's really what it is, right? So I had 2 really big shifts in my career. So I started as a trader, and then I went into the exchange industry because I've always been fascinated about the stock exchange. So at a certain point from a trading job, I went into market infrastructure. And then whilst into market infrastructure, I just understand that there was a big opportunity in digital asset at a certain point. And I think it was especially on the build-up of the end of the 2008 crisis, which took a really long time to resolve for the market. I think you were trying to see new opportunities coming through. Particularly, I was looking at investing and investment in general. And I just bumped into several conversations almost randomly about digital assets, about Bitcoin, about those new blockchains that were coming to the market, and I understood that actually with those blockchains you were able to almost reproduce what was done in traditional finance, but at several order of magnitude lower in price in terms of the cost of it, but also from an efficiency standpoint in a much more efficient way. And that's at that point I became really interested. I did a little bit of research, and at a certain point there was a click, in my head, whereby probably I was not going anywhere with my job, and I'm somebody who likes challenge, who likes to be really active in terms of what I do. I like to make a difference as a person, and I thought it was really an opportunity to think about. So,
and something new and exciting.
Exactly.
For you to.
When you look at finance, there was not. We didn't do, especially financial markets. There was no real innovation for a long time. The futures market was invented in the 70s, and then you had maybe several versions of it. The market going to different asset classes. From the invention of the index futures, and so on and so forth. But from a technological standpoint, nothing had really was so new. And really, blockchain from a technological side of things was really something that was, providing an evolution, but also a revolution. Because it was so much more efficient and so much cheaper to run as an infrastructure.
And then, talking about, I think many people have followed that footstep in terms of they worked in TradFi for quite some time, and then they move into crypto. But then in crypto, I think inherently there is maybe a bigger challenge in terms of, there's technology, but then there's always seems to be quite volatile and difficult to build something, whether you need to raise money or, so now that you've been in crypto, how do you feel about, the ecosystem,
The ecosystem is fascinating. Definitely. I mean, it's an ecosystem that is mostly made of small firms, small and medium enterprises, although there are some big giants, whereby basically the money and the cost of doing your business is really important. But I think what is fascinating me is the pace of innovation. So a lot of people look at digital assets and just look at Bitcoin, but actually I think what the really innovating part is more the blockchain as a technology, and all the potential opportunities it can open. So that's what interests me in that. It's a bit like the gold rush in the US, but applied to something that is maybe virtual, more abstract. But that's the world we live in, right? So it's really the technology, in my view, that will be able to take on the challenges of humanity of the next maybe the next century.
Right, yeah. And I want to talk to you. About your board roles. And there's a reason why I wanted to bring this up early in conversation is that I was in Hong Kong for Consensus, and I was sitting in the VIP room, and I was speaking to this founder who seemingly they're doing really well. And I said, part of some of the stuff that we do, we also place board members, and we've done for UAE government or whatnot. And one of his questions was like, why you need a board member in a startup? What do they do? And I thought, maybe you're a good person to ask, given that you have many different board roles. Just keen to understand a bit more about your board roles that you currently have, and how do they contribute to especially for a younger founder, perhaps, right? Just keen to understand a bit more about that.
Yeah, I think actually the board role is more important in a startup than it is in a well-developed and traditional company, because a startup will be coming into a lot of challenges of different nature. So actually, the way I see it as a board member, basically I can build on my experience of having managed maybe the same sort of problem at a different time with a bigger company. And therefore the fact that I've had so many jobs, in so many parts of market infrastructure, you can build on that and provide the right advice for the top management of the company. And I think this is really important also because founders are younger people. They don't have that experience, so they need somebody they can rely on to get the confidence to develop and to go ahead with their idea. And I think from a governance standpoint, it's really important because the board represents the shareholders, right? Will defend the interests of the shareholders. So a lot of on many occasions, you got a young founder with a lot of momentum, a lot of energy, but then might forget about what his shareholders really want. And basically the board and the different elements of the board allows that discussion to happen. Usually the discussion, I always say, is not happening at the board itself. It's outside of the board. And then the board is a formal meeting. Basically a board meeting is just a meeting. It's just that it's formalized and it's minuted. And so needs some preparation, and those discussions that happen in the preparation of the board usually are really important to manage those maybe different point of views on different ideas or certain subtleties in the management of the company.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think like in my opinion as well, like having a board, like even our company, we have a couple of board members, and the reason for that is like there's a sounding board that you can go and speak to because they've done that before, right? Yeah, it's a similar thing I told this founder, but I don't know whether they want a board member or not. But anyway, we will see. And obviously, the executive chairman of Young Platform, right? Which is Italy's largest exchange.
Yeah, so Young Platform is the biggest Italian crypto exchange. So we have about 2 million clients, of which about 250,000 are really active. And it's a really interesting company that started in 2018 and was one of the first players in the industry to do the play to earn model in the crypto world. So based on education at the very beginning, and then they moved into a crypto exchange model.
Yeah. And how do you feel, given that this, in my opinion, I feel like where there's more money is where capital market companies that operate in capital market structure, they see digital asset as another asset class, and they absorb it into their company. And given there is a lot of competition for exchanges, perhaps, how do you see somewhere like Young Platform plays within that? Is there a specific advantage or?
Yes, no, definitely. I think Young Platform is moving from the typical crypto exchange to more the service company to service the crypto industry and the digital asset industry. Basically, the aim of the company is to provide its clients with full access to digital assets. And there are not that many companies that have, that are able to provide digital assets in whichever shape or form. Obviously, it's a journey we're building. And to give you an example, the point of market access is really important. So how can you facilitate access to those products to the wider amount of people? And the top issue that any individual will have when they want to go and trade digital asset is, that you need to link it to the real world. So actually, we expanded into the card business, and we're launching that in 2026. So we did a pre-launch already, and we will therefore very soon have a debit card that is offering a really interesting cashback to the clients, and will serve as a way to link the digital asset world to your real spending world. So you are moving in a certain way from the pure exchange to basically an all comprehensive app that gives you possibilities.
Almost like a neobank, would you say? Or
yeah, exactly. Right. Then the other element that is really important is tokenization.
Right.
Because tokenization is a process that will contribute to offering the whole of the market on the blockchain. So it's really important in our view at Young Platform that clients are also able to access tokenized products. I mean, when you look at and you hear what people are saying about tokenization, particularly in the US, I mean, I think the view is that everything will be tokenized. Obviously, it's going to take time to get that done. But, if you have a platform that allows people to easily put the fiat money and get it into the digital asset world, then offering them, on the one hand, the crypto, and on the other hand, the tokenized products, will in a certain way, enable whatever shape or form of investment to your clients.
Yeah.
So basically, I think that's what's happening, in a bigger way, for those really big exchanges that are trying to add little by little, different verticals, and we're trying to do that, but focusing really on digital assets.
Yeah.
So so our clients are mostly Italian at the moment.
And do you feel that there is a bigger market than going outside Italy as well?
Yes, I think there will be a big market in Europe.
Yeah,
I mean, in Europe we tend to be slower, although in the space of digital assets, I mean, Europe was one of the first bloc that regulated, and this is really important step. Now we can see that the US is going really fast.
Yeah.
And I think if Europe doesn't react quickly, obviously there will be some risk that for the leadership of the bloc.
And another thing I want to ask you is that obviously traditional markets, they've been around, we all know it's been there for long, quite a long time, but crypto market seems to be still evolving. And one of the things that I want to ask you was what do you think is a misunderstanding about how real market works compared to what you look at crypto today?
Yeah, the way I look at this is the other way around. So what traditional markets could learn from digital asset markets, and not the other way around, as most people would put it. The reason being that the sheer amount of innovation that is coming through, and it's innovation that really make a difference. So, when you hear lots of these podcasts, it's all, okay, the traditional markets are englobing digital assets, as if, you were trying to put digital assets in the mold of traditional markets. I think what's going to happen is exactly the opposite. I can give you two examples. So in the two companies I work for, the first one is perpetual futures.
One Trading, right?
I'm working with One Trading, and One Trading is the first exchanges that develop perpetual futures in a regulated fashion. So it's a regulated exchange that is established in Holland, and is fully functioning at the moment, and is looking at the world through the lens of perpetual futures. Basically, those products are an innovation of the crypto exchanges. What did they do? They looked at the classical futures, the product design of traditional markets, and they just put the question of, do we really need to have an expiry? Those perpetual futures don't have an expiry. They go on forever. The result of that is that you get leverage that is higher because you margin the account not on every day, but on every second. And that's the benefit of having a market structure that is more modern. So you allow for a better exposure a better multiple to the product, but also it's trading 24/7.
Yeah.
So which traditional markets are not offering at the moment. So you look at that and you think, there is so much that you could build around that concept. So one trading has started with crypto pairs, trading in the form of regulated perpetual futures, and now we are moving into even equities. So
that will be 24/7 as well.
24/7 trading, leverage, and it's really the solution that is fit for the client that really want to do a trade in an environment that is protected by the regulation, and in a real market. So it's a real market. It's not an OTC product that is therefore exposing the client to a number of risks and lack of transparency, if you wish.
Yeah.
So there is this. So it's a bit, the question is, what can traditional market learn from digital assets? That's one example of something that can really be transformative to the futures industry. And then when you look in payments, look at the amazing path of stablecoins. Now stablecoins are processing $33 trillion, in 2025 of transaction, which is more than the sum of MasterCard and Visa put together, right?
That's crazy.
And this shift has happened last year in 2025. I think 2026, we're going to go even further to that. And there has been a lot of deal making and M&A. For instance, just not too long ago, MasterCard announced that they acquired BVNK.
Yeah.
To add this capability into the flow. And once again, you are looking at these new ideas that are an evolution of the market and providing the final clients with more option, with faster settlement time. You settle in, for instance, on the Solana blockchain, you settle in less than a second. The cost per transaction is $0.000025. The cost of a debit card or a payment is in the several percentage points of the total amount.
Yeah.
So you are moving the cost quite a number of orders of magnitude.
Yeah.
So it's really transformative.
And what do you think is the future for a firm like OneTrade? Like, where do you see is the biggest opportunity? Is it because they can trade 24/7? That's the biggest opportunity, or do you feel there's other things that a firm like OneTrade should be, looking forward to?
It's because, in my view, you provide a very transparent product with the same transparency standards as traditional finance product, as any market. You would see any regulated market, but providing the advantage of product design of the crypto world, i.e. a product that is simple to understand, anybody can understand. It's a very straight line. The market moved by 1 point, you're going to make $2.
Right.
If you are on double, on 2 times leverage.
Yeah.
So very easy to understand and very safe as well, because you are talking about a regulated business.
Yeah, makes sense. That's fascinating, because I think there are bigger organizations as well. They are they have their like I think you mentioned as well. They have departments just focusing on derivatives.
Yes.
perp.
The US has understood this very, very well. And just a few weeks ago, the head of the SEC announced that they're gonna find a path to regulate perp futures within the current construct, right? So whereas in Europe, we just launched some limitation on the product. So again, I think the problem that traditional markets have is they are from another time. now we're in a time of immediacy. We're in a time where you need to do more. We're in a time of inclusion. You were talking about leadership. If you think about how leadership has changed in the last 10 years or 20 years, from leading by power, by giving orders, to leading by inclusion and empowerment of people.
Yeah.
Right? There is much more that is given to the single individual. It's more responsibility, of course, but it's also, we're moving into this world where instantaneity and immediacy, if you wish, and also access is really important. Whereas the whole infrastructure is doing whatever they can to limit the access.
Right. Yeah.
So the crypto, I think the number one, the number 2 point that the crypto revolution is bringing is better access to more people. It's more inclusive, and it's more immediate.
Yeah, and since we touched upon about leadership as well, I'm curious to understand. So when you joined Komainu as a group CEO, and I think that's the time FTX collapsed as well, if I'm right.
Yeah, a little bit before.
Yeah, market was not that great. I wondered. I had two things on this. One is, what is it like to join in a way, a startup, right? But backed by a big organization like Nomura, and being this, what does it mean to be the group CEO of that type of organization, which is, I guess, the stakeholders probably from Nomura, right?
Yes.
So that's one. And then also, how is it like to be coming in as the incoming group CEO when the market is not that great? Just keen to understand, what was your thought process? What was going through?
Yeah. I would say that first of all, when you come into this situation, it's really important to have a view, right? That you need to be convinced that it's the right time for this industry you go in, right? So, I mean, looking at where we are at in digital asset, I mean, you are talking about 750 to 850 million users at the moment in 2025.
Yeah.
So we're reaching the billion apparently, and during 2026.
Yeah.
And that's what most people would say. And of that amount, about 180 to 200 million active users. So I think the numbers are so high. You're talking about touching 10% of the population at the moment, right? And it's moving at 12% growth rate. So I think from a leadership standpoint, you need to step back and look at what is the big picture, right? And think that crisis is just a little, bad moment to overcome.
Yeah.
And, with my experience in managing market infrastructure, I mean, the most challenging fact is the fact that you basically need to do a lot of investment.
Right.
It's high investment,
yeah.
But then it materializes into high profitability in the future. The best moment to do this investment is not when everything goes right and there is a lot of FOMO, whereby you're going to need to pay a lot of money to buy this, buy that. The cost of people as well is very, very high. So if you build a business during the FOMO, that's going to be painful.
Yeah.
Right? And that mistake has been done by many, many companies in the crypto asset. And you've seen these companies that hired like 500 people 1 year and fired 300 people the next year. Right? There was those examples
all the time.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, but like really in a matter of months, this is what happened. So basically, if you need a bit of courage. And also convince your investors that in time of difficulty, when you're convinced about the market direction, that's the best time to build, because you can get things. You have more time, to structure it. You have you're basically you're not overpaying you're not the investment.
Yeah. Plus also, I guess in market downturn, many people wouldn't build, and as a result of they have access to better talent, I would imagine.
Totally.
And so many advantages, right? So
that's the point. So, you know, this Chinese say that risk, the way you work crisis in Chinese,
right,
is the sum of crisis hardship, and difficulty, and also opportunity. Right. So it's the sum of the two.
Agree.
And so I think from a leadership standpoint, it's important to be polyvalent. You know, you need to be able to adapt. So you can't say, oh, you know, you've got to be reactive, and you've got to analyze very well the situation and be able to play different cards at different time. So
that makes sense. And one question I had was like sometimes a new CEO go into a new organization, but they already have a board. How hard or difficult it is to manage the expectations of a board, especially, you know, I would imagine that maybe now you're a board member yourself, so maybe like is a board always want to see the revenue growth, or is there a particular metrics, and also how easy or hard is it to manage the relationship, you know, manage the board as a CEO?
Yes, well, basically, remember that the board is the place where basically shareholders are talking to the company, right? So, and the board is taking care of strategic topics, so not the nitty-gritty. Let's hire that guy or not, right? I mean, depend on the size of the company, of course.
Yeah.
But basically, it's like trying to run to make the best possible for the shareholders. And the board has the duty to protect the shareholders so that there is no evident mistake for the share. You know, that would be negative to the shareholders, and also check that, you know, the strategy is there and the strategy is being implemented, and that there is a tactical plan, and that things are moving in the right path, right? Obviously, the board is going to bring the results, it's going to approve the economics, and that better be good, right? So, but then it sets itself the metrics, and then judge against those metrics. So sometimes, you know, the company is at the stage where you need to extract a lot of revenue. Sometimes it's more a stage of investment. So, but obviously, you want to see the numbers move in the right direction.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. And then one of the things I read about, I think we maybe talked about this, is coming into an organization and turning it around. I think in your example, like Turquoise, and I think if I'm right, it was one of the the fastest growing MTF in pan-European equities, right?
Yeah, when I was there, yes.
I'm just keen to understand, like, what was it like when you're coming into the organization, and what are the steps as a leader that you have to take in order for it to become, one of the fastest growing, segments in that market?
It's not rocket science. It's really easy to say, but difficult to do.
Right.
But I think you look at it from the cost and the revenue. So usually those companies that is struggling is going to have an issue of cost. Maybe the previous management have overlooked this point. But, especially when you talk about a startup, cost is a very critical element that can make or kill a business, right? Because if you are not able to manage the cost, because you have a time to market, there is a lag between your idea and the realization of it. If you don't manage the cost it's a tight ship, right? You've got to be really lean. And usually this is one area that the top management, especially when there is a turnaround, we look at. How can I minimize this element in the best possible way? To increase my lifeline, and without obviously impacting the economic result on the revenue. But that's the easiest thing to do, is to reduce the cost, right? Because at least, if you can't control very much the revenue, you can control the cost. Then obviously the next question is, what do you do on the revenue? And here it's a little bit more subtle, and a little bit more, it's not really obvious, right? Does the company, is the ID the right ID, and are they really going after that, right? So when the LSE bought Turquoise, the idea was to provide an opportunity for the London Stock Exchange to have a very active market, allowing the clients to trade pan-European stocks. Because at that time, the LSE didn't have pan-European offering. And actually, when you look at the network of the exchange, you were kind of missing this ability for our clients to touch, a much wider set of stocks. So that's when, basically you maybe refine the model, and find, the ID that gets the revenue in.
Right, yeah.
Right.
And how, I would imagine, in my opinion, as a, leadership recruiter, I always think a human capital is the most important thing for an organization. I wondered, how much, what was the importance of having the right people around you to be able to execute something like that? But also, what's your philosophy on hiring, people?
This is the most important, right? Because a company is an association of people that's gonna deliver a result.
Yeah.
So the most important capital element is the human capital. And there is no really secret sauce.
Yeah. And do you feel that another thing that I've found is that sometimes startups, they've raised some money, but they might keep a role open for like few months, right? And mainly because they want to see if they can hire from their network or, internal recruiters. But whereas they might have an option to go outside of their network and then pay somebody to do that. But I feel like most of the time startup founders think that it has a cost, not as a investment in a way. What are your thoughts on that? Just a general thought.
It's linked to this point on the startup that the cost is really a really important element. So I think, therefore, probably the founder will try to rely on his own network and the network of the people they bring together. So that's where maybe some board members can be a really important element, because having had so much experiences in so many businesses, and you have usually, a good board member will bring a significant network with him or her, and that will help the company either find new businesses, find people at the right moment to really execute the plan.
I'm curious to understand, from all of the previous experience you had, what's a single leadership lesson that you took longest to learn, and what is the one thing that you wish somebody had sat you down and told you much earlier?
I like this question. Although it's a very, very difficult question. My view on leadership is that it's more an art. So than it's a process, right? So you're gonna need to take this time to understand things nobody can really teach you, because what applied to your past experience will not apply to the future experience.
Right.
So I think maybe what I could say that I learned is the good leader, especially in the current view of what you expect from a leader, is going to require a lot of work on yourself. And working on yourself, understanding, yourself, leading yourself is the first element. I mean, it's not only leadership for businesses, it's also work for your family. It's work for your whole life. Right. You first need to understand yourself and work on yourself. That's really important. Then, once you've done this, you can look at doing it for others, leading others, understanding others. Those are the two elements of leadership. In that sense, it's not really about project management. When I started to have my manager roles when I was like, at the beginning of my career, I was just thinking it was about delivery, projects, organization, getting lots of things, working crazy hours. It's not this, right? Because if you work from, to 12 hours a day, you're not going to have time to work on yourself. So it's really important, I think, because that's going to be a defining thing in your future. Also because, as I said at the beginning, you don't know. I mean, your career will have breakpoints.
Right.
It's not a straight line. So you need to get ready for something that's not going to be a straight line. And I think what my university teachers said to me like 30 years ago is even truer right now, where in a world that is more uncertain and where the path is quick. You got immediacy, you've got really a lot going on. So in order to develop your adaptive skills, you've got to do a lot of work on yourself. It's also really important because you really need to know where you want to go, and that requires a lot of work.
Right.
So,
yeah,
otherwise, the situation of crisis, how do you deal with this if you don't know where you are heading?
Right. And plus also about yourself, if you don't know when a crisis happens, and if you don't know, I guess your values or your strengths and weaknesses or whatnot, and that's difficult, right? And one thing I would add to that is that, one thing I learned, like I'm in headhunting space, and it always can be up and down, a lot of challenges, right? Some days I might feel amazing, top of the world. Some days I might feel, down at the bottom. But one thing I learned is that as we are building our company, is I learned that regardless how, terrible I feel, I have to put that brave face and then go and have that deliver on that team meeting to project confidence, project, vision and hope, right? So I learned that through my small startup. So I found that's like, to your point, I couldn't do that when I first started my company. I wasn't able to do that because I didn't know about myself. So I had to work on myself for many years before I have a team. Now that I can put that brave face, even though things are going wrong.
What I read recently, I forgot in which book, but that a man or a woman becomes a man or a woman after he or she turns 40.
Oh, really? Wow.
In the sense that you need all those years to understand who you are.
Right.
You don't even know, really, but you have more clues to it. So it takes time to make a fully formed, person.
Yeah.
It's not that, when you turn 18,
right.
Usually the concept is that, you turn 18, you are majority.
Right.
And you can finally, do what you want. But it's just, even when you are 30, you are in your infancy as a person. So I think that's important to realize it. And that, you need to go through a certain process that nobody will be able to teach you totally, because it's yourself, right? Nobody can tell you who you're going to be.
Right.
It's a world of, in a certain sense, of experiences that you put together, but with that strong sense of your own personal leadership. And then maybe thinking about your previous question, I would say it's also action is better than perfection.
Right.
That's the other point. So especially when you feel bad, or maybe you feel totally not in your place, right, for whatever reason, then it's really important to do something. And it's also true for businesses, right? If you spend all your time on strategizing, etc., when are you going to deliver the stuff?
Right.
So I think a good leader is also somebody that makes the right balance, which is really difficult, but to balance the leadership with the strategy with the action part.
Yeah.
That's really difficult, and I guess thinking about the board and what those more experienced people can bring to a younger founder is this maybe wisdom of having seen lots of things and understand better how to tune things, and the younger person will try to push, rightfully so, right. and I think you're going to reach an equilibrium. And if the interaction between the board members, the management team, including the CEO, if it's the right mix, then it can really be a sparkle, and the company can exceed whatever expectation.
Yeah.
And that's the role of headhunter like yourself, is to try to understand what's the right mix.
Yeah.
When you advise people to take that person or that other person. And
you mentioned something important here, because last Friday I wrote this newsletter. I wrote a newsletter. I don't know if you're in the audience, but there's about 3,800 people reads it every Friday. Last Friday I wrote my title was "Founders don't care about culture because culture do not pay bills," or the VCs don't gonna come and say, "Oh, great culture, let me invest 10 million." But then that's kind of reality. But then I looked at the numbers. There's 222 billion worth of money lost every year in US alone in startups because of people leave because the culture is not great. And I wondered, and I see this most of the times, that there's a high turnover in startups, and equally there is the company seems to be doing good, but then actually if you really look at it, they are not doing that great because there's so much cost for them to replace that people who left.
Yeah.
And I wondered, in your opinion, how much do you think that this bothered to a startup founder about, we have to have the right culture, not the product first kind of approach? Just keen to understand. Just a general question that came to my mind while I was asking you.
Yeah, well, there is always going to be this pressure on results, right? A lot of those companies probably fail because maybe the idea is not that great.
Right.
You kind of see lots of pitches, and everybody's going to say, "I'm going to revolutionize this or that. Look, the world is totally broken. Markets are broken. We're going to fix it." Well, are you going to show you're going to be fixing it, right? So it's really, when you look at successful businesses, they usually click in terms of customer take-up quite quickly.
Product market fit.
Yeah. So I think when you are in these situations, then yes, it takes time maybe to really get it, especially if the company is really new. But then you can invest on culture.
Right.
But it's usually probably a second step, because the company at the start is small amount of people. So it depends on where you are on the lifespan of the evolution of the company.
Right.
But I think culture is a point that comes rather early. Right. I mean, not at the birth.
Right.
But
one of the other things that I wanted to ask you was that, how do you think your leadership style has changed over the last decade? And also, is there a difference between being a leader in digital asset space compared to maybe in the TradFi space?
Yes. Difference is about speed.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a leader in digital asset space, you need to have speed. You need to be really focused on how fast can you implement this or that, because that's a defining point in terms of your success. Succeeding to roll out stuff in a quicker way than you would do in a really totally mastered product development plan. It's more about trial and error. It's a bit more that.
Right.
Than in, you can do a mistake. If you have many go at things, you can do more mistakes. Obviously, you need to correct them, but that's this immediacy. That's the difference, I think. What is going to be more and more the same is that we are moving into a regulatory world. So you've got to also make sure that the processes are controlled. So and I think that's what's coming in the digital asset world. It's getting more control and more mature process, if you wish. Yep. Then in terms of the way my leadership really has not really changed. I think I was quite fortunate to be already thinking about this empowerment of people early on, something that has always been really important for me. So actually, I didn't have to change really this and probably probably into the crypto, obviously that element of being really demanding for quicker and more results is probably
probably the difference.
The difference, compared to running a piece of traditional market infrastructure.
Right. Yeah. Speed of execution.
Speed of execution
is a key important.
Action is more important than planning.
Strategizing planning.
Right, because if you work for a big stock exchange, you're going to have hundreds of pages of presentations to change that little bit of of your business model. If you are on more of a startup system, you will need to go let's do this.
Yeah, and it's also important because the market moves like every three months. I think there's something different, right? So
it's amazing. I mean, the amount of change, even in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
That's way beyond what you could do. Like it's just a full different world. A year in 12 months goes through. You are in a different setup, right? Yeah. You're in a different setup. So you need a lot of adaptive skills.
Absolutely. Nicholas, it's been great chatting to you. Unfortunately, we run out of our time. Hopefully we can do this again. Thank you so much for being here. And look forward to doing this again soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.